T-Bar of Retribution beat Ricochet. He then told Ricochet to join them or they will end his existence. I think Vince McMahon is already well on his way to doing that himself. I don't think he needs T-Bag's help. But I have to defend Ricochet on one thing. People were making fun of this guy for crying and tearing up and getting all emotional on Raw Talk on Monday night. They were mocking this guy. And he was on Raw Talk talking about constantly losing. Week after week, talking about how he's so low right now that he has to consider Retribution's offer. If you would have said this weeks ago, the answer would have been no, but I have to actually think about this now. And you can see how it's just tormenting him. It's tearing him up inside. He was showing real emotion during this segment. His eyes were all red. As far as I could tell, Matt Riddle wasn't around, so you can't blame him. But he ran down his entire list of failures for this year. Not being able to hold on to the United States Championship for more than a couple of weeks. He says, I couldn't even touch Brock Lesnar. He couldn't beat the Hurt Business. Now I can't beat Retribution. So he said something has to change. But he said he doesn't know what that is yet. He thinks he's getting there. He's getting close. But he hasn't quite figured out what it is. But he was at a loss for words. He was stumbling over his words. But it worked in this case. It felt like this is a man. It felt real. It felt like this is a guy who is totally lost and is searching for the answers and can't find it. And just does not know what to do with himself. And when you listen to him run down his resume like that for 2020, you realize how bad of a year he really had. I mean, I knew it was bad, but Jesus Christ. Look at what they have done to poor Ricochet. Or as R-Truth called him, because R-Truth was on the set with Charlie Caruso. He was trying to give Ricochet a pep talk and lift his spirits. He called him Richard O'Shea. This guy had R-Truth sitting next to him, and he had every reason in the world to crack and to corpse, as a lot of other people do when they're on Raw Talk and they have to deal with R-Truth. He's always trying to make people crack up. He made Brock Lesnar crack up in the middle of the ring on live TV once. R-Truth is great. But he had R-Truth sitting next to him, giving him every reason to start corpsing on this show, and he never cracked. Not once. He was in the zone. Ricochet was really good here. And I think a lot of the hate and the jokes and everything were unwarranted. They were not warranted. I thought he did a good job here. And there is not a doubt in my mind that the reason he was so good in this segment is because what you saw, that was real emotion pouring out of that guy. Ricochet is not that good of an actor. He knows that he has had a shit year. He cannot be happy with the way that things have gone for him in WWE. And like he said here, he cannot continue to be the one that other people step over to further their own careers. That's what he said. One of the reasons I like this segment so much, and I think people, again, unfairly mocked it, is because everything you heard him say, you can believe that that is how he really feels. And that is how it came across on TV. It came across as genuine. It came across as the complete opposite of people like Matt Riddle and Jeff Hardy, who sound like a couple of cartoon characters. This felt real. It sounded real. Authenticity is what is sorely lacking from Monday Night Raw. And you got some of that here in this segment with Ricochet. Now the problem is that he is still involved with Retribution. And to get him to wherever he's going, if Retribution is sort of the bridge to that, if it's a quick thing, then okay, fine. But the longer I feel like he's entangled with Retribution, the worse off he's going to be. Retribution has been a failure. And it's not fair to the people involved who didn't ask for this. I'm not blaming Donovan Dijak. I'm not blaming Mia Yim. Or Dio Madden or any of the people who were involved in this. They're trying to make the most of a bad situation, but make no mistake, it is a bad situation. Mercedes Martinez had enough self-respect to back out and say, I don't want to be part of this. I've been in the wrestling business for 20 years. I'm not going to have the stain of this shit on me. And she stepped away and she asked to go back to NXT. And she just returned to NXT this week. In fact, she was on NXT attacking the champion. She was the smart one. But as long as he is linked to Retribution, whether he joins them or not, nothing will change for Ricochet. He needs a total reset. And this promo gives them the perfect excuse to do that reset. Ricochet has never been at a lower point in his career. If ever there was a time for him to adopt more of a silent, brooding character, now is that time. I mean, I'm thinking Sting-like or Darby Allin. You want to draw a comparison, then go ahead. I'm not saying paint his face and make him the next Sting. I'm just saying that dark, brooding character. Just think back to Sting for a second, okay? Why did Sting go from Surfer Sting and all the colors on his face to the Crow character? Why did he withdraw and become an introvert and rarely speak for a year and a half? Remember the promo he cut on Nitro? Because there was a promo that led to that character change. It was because his own friends, Lex Luger, and all the members of the WCW roster, they didn't believe him. They actually thought that he was with the NWO, that he was against them, that he would betray WCW, and it was like a fake Sting, and it wasn't him. But that bothered him. It offended him. That people would think, that his own friends would think that about him. And that was what kind of triggered the character reset. And we got a totally new Sting who said, you know what? I don't want to have anything to do with any of you people. I'm on my own. I could tell I'm on my own here. I don't have any friends. I don't have any allies. Nobody believes me. Nobody, you know what? Screw all of you. Ricochet right now is searching for a reason. He's never been at a lower point. He gets his ass kicked every week. He's got no friends left. He's got nowhere else to go other than just joining. If you can't beat him, join him. Well, joining Retribution, believe me, that ain't the answer. So if ever there was a time for a reset to that type of character who just withdraws and says very little, if anything, now is that time. He doesn't speak. He sits off in the crowd. I mean, I guess with the Thunderdome, he can't exactly go up into the stands. But he has no friends, he has no allies, and when he wrestles, he needs to adopt a more aggressive style. And the best comparison I can make is somebody he's very familiar with. In fact, the match he had with this man, I think, is the match that got them noticed by WWE and got them a job, or it got Pac a job many years ago, and that's Pac. When you watch Pac physically is not the biggest man in the world. But if you ask me, can I see Pac one day as the AEW World Champion as I look ahead and I look at their roster and I try to see, okay, who can be the World Champion one day? You know, Kenny Omega has it right now. I think Hangman Page is a given. I think Darby Allin can get there one day. Pac is on that list, absolutely. Could I buy into him as being a world champion even though he's not 6 feet tall or 6'5"? Absolutely. Because when he's in the ring, he's got a very aggressive style. He's got this scowl on his face. I mean, they call him the bastard when he comes out. Looks like he's always pissed off of the world. But he lays his shit in. His stuff in the ring, it looks good. So he's the closest thing that I could think of to what I'm talking about here. Ricochet, promo-wise, is not a good promo. This was the exception because it felt he tapped into something real. He wasn't just reading rehearsed lines off a page that were given to him or bad jokes. I mean, let's be honest, the minute, as good as this was, the minute he's back on Raw in a regular segment on TV, it's back to the bad dialogue. I mean, it's just not his strong suit. He does not do well with it. This is a way to get the microphone out of his hand, let his work in the ring do the talking. This would not be the case for just anybody. Some people, you need to put a microphone in their hand because in the ring, there's nothing that, maybe they're not a bad wrestler, but there's really nothing that sets them apart from everybody else. So you need them to do a sit-down interview or try to flesh out the character a little bit more. You don't have to do that with Ricochet. Ricochet is a different kind of cat. He's a different kind of performer. There ain't nobody like Ricochet in WWE. The things that he could do, the things that you see him doing on TV, that's half of what this guy is capable of doing. But this is how you begin to rehab Ricochet. Hide his weakness, accentuate his strengths, and his strength is that until he got to WWE, he was the best high flyer in the business. Now you might say Ray Phoenix or someone like that has now taken the mantle from him, but before he came to WWE, Ricochet was the guy. When you thought of these guys who do all the aerial stuff and fly around the ring and do all these amazing things, everybody talked about Ricochet. Everybody was wondering, where's Ricochet going to land? Where is he going to go? That's what he was known for. He was like a walking video game character. He could do things that nobody else could do. Or as some of you would say, yes, he was a flippy wrestler. He was the quintessential flippy wrestler. But if you're going to be a flippy wrestler, then guess what? Be the best damn flippy wrestler of them all. And that's what he was. If you had somebody who wasn't a wrestling fan and they were no pun intended, but if they were flipping through the channels and they came across Raw and they saw the Ricochet of old, I guarantee you they would stop, at least for a few seconds or a few minutes, they would stop and be like, whoa, what the hell was that? Like, that was cool. Like Rey Mysterio did for a lot of people 25 years ago, the way he would fly around the ring. You would put the remote down. You didn't want to change the channel if Rey Mysterio was on the screen. Everybody talks glowingly about the Cruiserweight division in WCW during the Monday Night War. Why do you think that is? They brought a lot of talented people in, but it was Rey Mysterio. That's what got people hooked. Because there was nobody like him at that time on TV. Vince McMahon never got Ricochet because, as I've already explained, he does not watch NXT. And he sure as shit never watched any of Ricochet's pre-WWE stuff. So he doesn't get it. He doesn't understand. Ricochet needs to, the character needs to toughen up, start really laying his shit in, keep his mouth shut, keep that hoodie on, sit and observe. And keep people guessing. What's he thinking about? What's on his mind? Is he a bad guy? Is he a good guy? What's the deal with Ricochet? You know what? He's neither one of those things. Keep people guessing for a while. But if they just throw him into Retribution, or they just keep him feuding with Retribution, even if he finally wins in the end, it's right back to main event and matches with Drew Gulak. It is a waste of the man's talents. And it's going to take time to educate people, because all they've seen this year with Ricochet is failure. They associate him now with failure. Now you need to rebuild his credibility. And I just told you how to do it.